Hello, good evening to everybody. Namaskar. This is C. Basavalingaya from Bangalore. I'm heading National School of Drama, Bangalore Center. Last 5 years, we are having a 1 year intensive course apart from Delhi for the South Indian students only. Very thankful to NST Director Suresh Sharmaji and for this webinar series for the public to reach out the theatrical experiment as well as the live talks regarding different aspects of the theatre subject. I'm very much thankful to NST Delhi as well as my students, and also you're all viewing this live video. मैं बीच बीच में हिंदी में भी शिफ्ट हो सकता हूँ, कुछ ऐसे लिखा हूँ मैं, ऐसे गपचिप करेंगे, लेकिन ये सब्जेक्ट मेरा है टोटल साउथ इंडियन थिएटर के ऊपर है. इट्स अ वेरी डिफिकल्ट बिकॉज the South India we have 7 states, 2 union territories were there, Lakshadweep and also Puducherry. But our center mainly focusing these states, mainly the Dravidian language, what we call, we have 4 languages, dominating language of South states. That is my state, Karnataka, it's Kannada, Tamil Nadu, they speak Tamil, Malayalam, and also now speaking Telugu people, they divide in 2 states now. One is Telangana as well as Andhra Pradesh. But I'm not going to talk about entire South India states. We know what modern theatre emerged out of the basic essence source from the ritualistic theatre as well as devotional, and finally reach out to the popular modern theatre, and also we can say that folk theatre. I would like to introduce some of the forms why in our time the modern dramatists, the theatre experts, they are going back to the native ideology as well as the fast memories of their own native culture. That's what I believe the Indian modern theatre as well as the South Indian theatre make rich and as well as plural to the people and to accessible for to the everybody. I divided such a way. I made it a South Indian theatre from ritual to devotional theatre, and third part is going to be popular theatre like a folk. And based on this, how the modernity and the new form of theatre experiment started in India. I'm not going to in detail all the forms. Few forms I'm going to talk about, mainly from Karnataka. We know Yakshagana is one of the ancient form of total theatre we called, and as well as ritualistic theatre, Bhutaradhana. And in Kerala, the coastal region, once upon a time, there will be a belief that the and coastal Kerala, they were all together because the Chakyarkut, Kudiyatam, and also Kathakali, and Yakshagana, Tayyam, as well as the Bhutaradhana, there was similarities on these forms, and they were all developed with the Bhakti movement cult. So that's what I am going to share my viewpoint of the allied points. The popular living forms today, its appears were mostly shaped by Bhakti movement that swept over different regions of South India from 17th century onwards. Bhakti cult in the literary form, because South India, we have different religion aspects, mainly Karnataka. Before Vedic cult, there will be a Buddhist as well as the Jain. All the Kannada ancient poets, they belongs to the Jainism. Adikavi, Pampa, Ranna, Panna, like that. After that, before even Sanskrit theatre, there are many people, we assume that we are all have a ritualistic theatre in India. It may be it goes back to that tribal ritualist theatre. That bhakti movement which emphasis bhakti, it means devotion to God, saw the world as the arena of Lord divine play. That's called Leela. We believe Leela because the Hindu mythology as well as the people, the theatre, we worship in theatre actually. In South India, many of the art forms, it's evolved in the temple. Many dance, theatre forms, they evolved in the temple region or defined space, sacred space, we say that. That Lord divine play. No wonder the names of many existing forms are suffixed with the word Leela, a Sanskrit word, or its South Indian counterpart being autumn. The Leela, we call it in northern part. That's what we can see the example of Rama Leela. But in South India, many Dravidian cult earlier, before independence, there will be a Ravana Leela also. That's Leela. But in South Indian, we call it the Ata or Autumn. In Malayalam, we call it Autumn. It means the play means is a Ata. The Yakshagana Bayalata, we say that. Kudi Autumn. Autumn, it means it's a play. Forms are Natyadharmi. It means symbolic. What Bhartamani he describes in his Natya Sastra, that Natyadharmi, symbolic. As contrast with Lokadharmi, the realistic, they all use a rich combination of words, music, and dance. Some like Yakshagana and Kathakali have evolved into a complex and elaborated theatrical language, though the theatre of the Bhakti period represents a break from the past in the interesting manner. It is a continuation. From the Bhakti, it's a come apart. It's a break from the past. But finally, it's evolved into the independent art forms. Another backdrop of the theatre is the primitive ritual. They contain the seeds of full-fledged forms of the living tradition of South Indian theatre. The traditional theatres of South India are seen as falling into the three groups. We can make it for the understanding of the different divisions. We can name it like this: ritualistic theatre. It means the primitive theatre we say. It is available, well available in the many part of the South India. It may be in Kerala, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, where Adivasis, the tribal people lives. They have their own theatre forms. The second one is the devotional theatre that we call Bhakti cult. Bhakti theatre. It's from 7th to 18th century. It goes on. In Karnataka, it's emerged in 12th century. And the third, and also it includes the modern theatre also emerges here only, I think, popular theatre. It means folk theatre. It also assumes that these three stages involves an increasing degree of secularization of performance. Because the ritualistic theatre, they have their specified, the identified specific space, specific performance space. It means inside the temple or the outside the temple. They were all for worship. The play itself is a worship. So like that, the greatest theatre of the world were evolved from the rituals. We know that. The ancient Greeks, even in our India, the source of Indian theatre are traced back to Vedic rituals. The likening of theatre to worship is also found in Sanskrit literature. At the same time, we should remember that Not all the Indian culture or theatre come from the Vedic source. A variety of non-Vedic rituals still prevalent in different parts of India contain elements of theatre, especially South Indian Dravidian culture or languages stands separate and maintaining its own identity through language, the culture, the performing text, everything I'm telling. It means the stage, the actor, costume, the story or the plot, music, dance, speech, and color composition is entirely different than others. A ritual is sacred theatre, whereas the theatre is secular ritual. It's a vice versa. The ritualistic text always happens. It's a sacred. We need an audience of faithful spectator. Whereas for the theatre is secular, we can invite anybody. There is no discrimination at all. The audience of the two are also different. So are the performance spaces. The ritual is performed in the midst of the faithful devotees of the community. Not so in the case of theatre. So this is the difference. We can clear-cut division. We can see that how the ritualistic theatre and the theatre is separated. In Kerala and Tulunadu means Dakshina Kannada is the coastal region of the Karnataka. And in the coastal district of Karnataka, we can see a popular form of ritualistic theatre called Tayam in Malayalam. It means Kerala. Bhutaradhane, that is worshipping Daman, they say in literary manner. Bhutaradhane, we believe it's a god in Karnataka. Through the upper caste people participates as a host of these ritualistic performances. They have a sponsorship, like because this all ritualistic theatre evolved with the agriculture background. The fertility theory is there. They sacrifice all the bhutas. They were all men, women, sometimes the animals also. This form belongs to predominantly to the exploited backward castes. No upper caste people going to participate in this ritualistic theatre. The upper caste people always they have a role of hosting the performance. The performers they belongs to the backward caste, mainly backward caste. Whether it may be a Tayyam of Kerala or Bhutaradhane, whether it is a Siri cult, so mainly Sudra community only they participate. And also involved in the worship of different categories of local deities. But these ritualistic theatre have their deities. It means family deities were there, village deities, and also the ancestral deities. The spirit of heroic men, women, and animal also. Sometimes animals also involved, sacrificing their life for the community. That's why they were all also worshipped. In Karnataka, these deities are called Bhutas. But in Kerala, Tayyam also, they have many names. But they are all primitive ritualistic theatre forms. That is I mean to say. This word stands today in Indian languages for ghosts or demon. The standards, the meaning of we understand it as a demons, but in Tulu for it is a Bhuta, which means for them is a god. We believe the Bhutas were god. That's why the many North Indian people they believe that the coastal region, the Karnataka, Kerala people they worship devil. No, that is not inside of the standard language of demon. It's not representative. The upper caste Hindus identified these deities benevolent by local and tribal communities as demons. This is the notion that the upper caste people named this as a demon. But the heroes of the Bhutakola or Tayyam, if you go back to the background, because of the feudal system, there may be a conflict between the land and also for the status fight. This conflict happens. Later, some of the most popular bhutas were identified with attendants of Shiva. In the beginning, they were all the deities of their own communities. Later on, when the performance is a popular, the later on bhutas were identified with attendants of Shiva. The originally Dravidian non-Aryan god later adopted into the upper caste Hindu pantheons. That's what they say that. One of the popular bhuta of Tulunadu, it means coastal region of Karnataka. It's very famous. Dharmasthala we know. But Dharmasthala, it is a Chinese culture is there. But temple is a Shaiva. That bhuta called Annappa. Annappa has become a Shiva's attendant later on, guarding the Dharmasthala temple dedicated to Shiva. So it means the transformation of bhuta later on it turned as a Hindu god and goddess also. In Kerala, the Malayalam word Thayyam also means a demon. Thayyam or bhuta worship is very ancient in South India. Maybe in the eastern state also, in India, many tribal regions they worship the bhuta also in different manner. Bhutas are worshipped in the sacred space at the temple dedicated to them only, or sacred specific space identified for them. The Bhuta Thayyam performers paint their faces like a stylized mask and wear exaggerated headgears and colorful costumes that appear to be the prototypes of Kathakali and Yakshagana. But there will be many scholars believe that Bhutaradhana is from that influence only the Yakshagana later on evolved as a full total theatre. That's what the scholars they believe that. If the performance is believed to bring happiness, why this kind of ritualistic theatre is emerged in South India? The many people, the audience, they believe that the watching this performance is believed to bring happiness to the participants and fertility to the land. So because these farms are evolved in the era of agriculture era. So, but in Kannada we say that culture, it has in agriculture itself. The agrarian culture we say that because we're all worshipping land, goddess. The Bhuta also, they believe that will bring the happiness to the people who are all what? They were all participating in the ritual and also the fertility to the land because they have to grow more crops. This is the main thing. While narrator singing praises of the Buddha, the ritualistic actor dances then out. For the singing, the performer, he dance, having the exaggerated headgears. Sometimes the Thayyam Buddha have 70 feet height headgears and colorful, mainly dominated by primary colors. This is the most notable features of this. After dances them out, he often goes into the trance. While performing, the actor, he goes into the trance. He makes predictions for the believers and often provides solution to the problems also, day-to-day problems. That's why the people watching Bhuta Aradhana performance at Thayyam, the people believe that they have a demand, they have a problem. They will ask that what the solution, for the solution only they participate. The Bhuta will give the predictions they give, the solution also they provide. Siri cult is like that. in the Southern Coast region and also Nagamandala of Tulunadu. But Nagamandala, which were also the primitive ritual theatre forms going back to the earlier times. The Sirikat, most popular female deities, Siri also called female demon, but there will be only the women will participate. It is also the cult emerges in the feudalistic system. Nagas, the Nagamandal Nagas, the snake deities are popular all over India. Nagamandal is an elaborated ritual theatre centering on snake worship and accepted to bring health and prosperity to the people and fertility to the people and also the land. There will be a saying in Malayali. According to a Malayali saying, staging a play about Rama is ridden with the endless obstacles. On the other hand, staging of a play on Krishna is invariably a smooth affair. That was in the devotional theatre from the rituals to the transformation of the theatre shifted to the hood of the temple. Later on, our great two epics, Ramayana and Mahabharata, were appeared in the South Indian culture. Bhakti was a philosophy extremely congenial to the theatre. Buddhism, Jainism, and other Hindu monistic faiths consider life in the world as a condemned, earthly life and made liberation from the world. That's what we say that in Kannada there will be many signposts say that illiruvudu summane, alliruvudu nammane. All the Hindu mythologies and also the philosophically, the Hindus believe that we are living in the earth temporarily. We have permanent house there in the heaven. That is the faith. That's what the Jainism, Buddhism, they were not believing the moksha because they won't believe in Atma Paramatma. All the ritualistic theatre, the devotional theatre, it started to propagate their deities as well as their faith. It's linked with the religion also. That's why, however, Bhakti cult always emphasized the celebration of human life. That's why from 7th to 17th century, we can see in entire South India, there will be a form of Bhakti movement. Many caste people that became a devotee of Rama, the Krishna, in every state. Like that in South India also, that devotional faith emerged. The main philosophy, the celebration of the human life, has to grace the God. Thus, Ata, it means the Leela, constitute the celebration of man and God. That is, they believe that the God, goddess, have their own friend. In Saivism also in Karnataka, in 12th century, Basavanna pointed out his Virshaiva Dharma. The Sharana means Bhakta, is a wife of God. That's what we call Sarana Sati Lingapati. Linga means the God. The Shiva is the husband. The deity, the Bhakta is the wife. That is the concept, the Bhakti cult. That is called, it's a Ata. The Ata means it's a Leela. It's the God's Leela. Hereafter, this also accounts for the Velotra of the celebration of scenes into the theatre form. And they not only compose the music, dance, and is entered to the theatre forms also. That's why in the Bhakti cult, these main philosophies always going to be underlined. There are a feast to the That forms give they are the feast to the eye, the ear, and the art. So it means, oh, Manushan ka kitna panchendriya we say that it's for the presenting watching, for the high listening music and watching dance. It is all believe that it's a the God gift. That's why the many devotional theatre ritualistic people they believe that it's a God gift. They are the players in the sense of bringing meaningfully playful. In the Bhagavata Purana, it describes important events as Krishna's life. But that's what when we take Kathakali, Kuriyatam, Yakshagana, the main heroes, they were all whether it is from taken from Ramayana or Mahabharata, Rama Katha or Krishna Katha. There is the faith. It is done as the Saivites, they emerged, they propagated with the music, poetry, as well as with the theatre forms. One of the greatest performance text in India, the Gita Govinda was composed by Jayadeva in Sanskrit in the 12th century. It focuses on the romance of Lord Krishna and his beloved Radha, written in Astapadi. It means 8-line stanzas. It is a poem ideally suited to the theatre and song performance. It means the dance drama. There will be music, there will be a singing pattern is there, and as well as for the song, the actor will dance. This is for theatre and song performance. It was already popular in Kerala by the time is a poet. Samutri arrived on the scene. The same time when the Istanda Astapadi written the Radha Krishna episode, Jayadeva. So in the Kerala, we can also see the same pattern of narrations. This text was called Krishna Satakam. The Samutri written Krishna Satakam. Over the period of time, the name changed into Krishnatam. It's earlier it is called a Krishna Satakam. Later on, it's turned as a theatre form Krishnatam. Gita Govinda expressed the Sringara Rasa. It means erotic sentiment. It's alone. It is only based on Sringara Rasa, Gita Govinda. Whereas, but because of Krishna Gita is included episodes expressing all the varieties of rasa. It's replaced the Gita Govinda as a performance text in Kerala. It means Gita Govinda in Kerala, it's turned as a performing text involving all the rasas, not only just Sringara, all the rasas. That is the main thing it's happening. Krishnatam is not theatre in the sense of being characterized by 4 types of abhinaya. It means what Bharatamuni says in Natyasastra, the different 4 style of acting is there. It means the Angika, Vachika, Aharya, Satvika. But Bharata also defined theatre as a something enriched by varied states of emotions to depict life in the world. In this sense, Krishnatam is a theatre for excellence. Earlier, this form was confined only to the temple space as ritual theatre. Later on, it's come out from the temple. Recently, it moves out of Guruvayur to other parts of India also. All the Krishnatam, it started in Guruvayur temple, the famous Krishna temple, the Vaishnavas they believe. Just as Krishnatam, Ramanatam and Sanskrit, Sri Krishna Parijata. The Parijata is popular in northern part of the Karnataka. Sri Krishna Parijata, we say that. It's The source we can take from Bhagavata Purana. These are all the Krishna plays in South. To list of the Krishna plays, one can include Dasarata, Radhanata, and Sri Krishna Parijata of Karnataka, Yakshagana, the theatre form of coastal Karnataka. Kathakali was begun as a Rama play. In one sense, a good deal of Indian popular theatre is the gift of Rama and Krishna. So it means the South Indian, the cultural arena, it couldn't escape from the influence of the two great epics of the Indian culture. What we say that Ramayana Mahabharata. The style of performance changed. It started with the inside the temple. Later on, it moves out of the temple. That's how it happens. Actually, the devotional theatre mainly based on music, dance, but there is no dialogue earlier. This theatre appears to have gained ground of the decline of Sanskrit theatre in the second millennium. The many scholars believe that after decline of Sanskrit theatre, this kind of forms evolved themselves. The genre of theatre that became widespread during the period of is the foremost part of called autumn or art, especially in South India. Both the words literally means play. Autumn is meaning it is a play. Leela as a theatre genre finds no mention in the work of theorists like Bharata or Dhananjaya. One can argue that the theatre forms that evolved in the second millennium up to the 18th century were mainly contributions of different Bhakti schools. This form of theatre it's evolved through the Bhakti schools only. Like that, in Kerala, Bhakti schools developed the Chakyar Koot. It's also Chakyar Koot is one man show like that. Its performance happens inside the temple only. And also in Malayalam the saying is like that. For acting, the Chakyars. For instruments, the Nambiyars. For singing, the Nangiyars. It is these three different communities involved in the Chakyar Koot. Thus, there is a traditional distribution of labor among the three groups of Kuriyatam. The Kuriyatam have three set of group people that's called Nambiyars, Nangiyars, and Chakyars. And for acting and instrumentalization and singing. Because in this theatre, only three basic theatre elements involves. Chakyars, they usually do the Bhava Abhinaya, Sthaya Abhinaya, we say that. But there is no dialogue. But for the instruments, Nambiyars, they were very famous. The Nangiyars, they sing. The Nangiyar community, thus there is a traditional distribution so that apart from singing, the Nangiyars plays female roles. This community, the first time in southern India, the female actress involved in the performance. It means an acting skill. Earlier, all the characters are performed by male only. So like Abhinaya, acting technique is multi-layered in Kuriyatam also. Later on, after Chakyar Koot, it's evolved the Kuriyatam. It employs in an elaborated manner of all the four types of Abhinaya. It looks like a Sanskrit theatre. What Bharatamuni, you see the codified sutras of Abhinaya, Angika, it means gestural, and also the Vachika, verbal, the Aharya, makeup and costume, the Satvika, emotional. All these four Abhinaya methods developed in Kuriyatam forms also. So there is a reference in the ancient Tamil literature called Silpadikaram. In that narrative poems by Ilangovidikar, he speaks of different kinds of kutus. Kutus it means autumn. Earlier I said that it's a play. The makers of Chakyar Kutu as old as Silpadikaram. It means it goes back to the time of Silpadikaram when it's emerged. It's the ancient Tamil literature. The Tamil and the South Indian people believe it's one of the ancient literature. It's a narrative poems. It's contained narrative poems. Some of the traditional performers like Mani Madhavan Chakyar and Payagudam Ramachakyarya try to keep alive the distinctiveness of Kuriyatam at present with the winds of change. Like in some of the great masters, they keep alive till today also. That's what in Kerala, earlier it's a Chakyar Kutu, later on it's a Kuriyatam and Kathakali. But all the episodes taken from Ramayana or Mahabharata. That's why to separate these, they called as a Ramanatam, Krishnanatam. The Kathakali Kuriyam also, from that only. So later on in Karnataka, simultaneously, Yakshagana is equated to Kathakali. The exaggerated makeup, even the Aharya Vinaya, and also the dance, music, the Bhagavata Mela is there behind the scene. And even in Kathakali, Kuriyatam, Yakshagana, there will be a similarity to using curtain, the small curtain to Patra Pravesham. Behind the curtain they have to dance, and before that there will be a prayer on Ganapati. Every forms they have a Ganapati earlier, and the performance, and there will be it's all Yakshagana divided in different manners. The professional groups, it's developed supported by temples only. All the temples in coastal region, they have their own companies of Yakshagana till today. Yakshagana teams, nearly 20-30 years, they have advanced booking because they were all professionals. And in those also there will be a differentiation. Vadagatittu, Tenkatittu. In Kathakali also we can see Vadagatittu, Tenkutittu. Like that, there is a similarity. Because of the locations for the Abhinaya style and also the Aharya Abhinaya, these differentiation we can witness in these forms. So after that, why this Kuriyatam, Kathakali, Ramanatam, Krishna, there will be a king called. This is sophisticated art, we know. But once there will be the myth is there in Kerala. Sumitri Raja of Kozhikode, earlier is popularized art form called Krishnatam. Another king, Kotarakara Raja, implored with Smriti Raja that this great art should be brought to the southern part of the Kerala. It means other side. But however, Sumutri Raja felt that the people of South Kerala did not deserve this sophisticated art form to witness. He refused to give into the Kotaraka Raja. Then finally, Kotaraka Raja decided to create a new form of art based on the Ramayana story. He composed a work called Ramayana Atakathas. It means there is 8 days. The new form called was Ramanatam, which became the basis of Kathakali. The Ramanatam is the main source to develop the modernity of the Kathakali state, the most colorful and sophisticated dance drama of Kerala. According to another versions, Kottarakara Raja first created Ramanattam. He said no to the request from Samutri Raja for this farm to export it to the northern Kerala. The result, the Samutri Raja forwarded a new form of theatre called Krishnatam. This is the people believe that whatever may be the truth behind the two complicating stories of the origins of these forms, it is a more or less clear that Ramanattam came to being in 17th century. Its founder was Kottarakara Raja. The form went through the process of several changes and additions for overall a century. By 18th century, Kathakali as it's known today took shape. So this is the how these forms evolved from the based on Ramayana Mahabharata. That Kathakali, the finest dance drama form available in the southern region, and also it's a lot of experiment also taken place. Many theatre experts try to adapt Shakespearean plays to the Kathakali also, but many scholars believe that if you modernize traditions, the originalities go back because these arts, the southern India, the mainly dominated by this kind of devotional bhakti cult and also ritual. I will come to the that part. The Yakshagana is like that. There are several groups. There were great masters. In Yakshagana also, Dr. Shivaram Karan, he made it, he upgraded sometimes. In Yakshagana also, Dr. Shivaram Karan, he made it, he upgraded sometimes. He put the dance forms, he developed the steps, and also he improved the Aharya. The many traditional Yakshagana people, earlier they didn't like the experiment of Shivaram Karan's. Yakshagana developed with Tulu language also. Because mainly the Yakshagana from Bhagavata Puranas. Krishna is the leading role. But later on, the native deities like Koti Channaya, Sri, many Bhutas, the Tulu warriors they involved. The one more thing you have to maintain is keep in mind for development of Kathakali or Kuriyatam or Yakshagana, the heroic performance, because mainly these two forms using the instrument called Chande. Without Chande, Kathakali or Yakshagana never took place. The sound, it make people to lower in it. So the instruments, it means there is a separation, there is a Bhagavata, and in Yakshagana, so there is a two group have been northern and southern, that is Tenkatittu, Badagatittu, that. There is a little bit slightly difference of the Aharya Abhinaya only, and using their musical instruments, there is a difference. Some of them use them Talam, some of them Jagate. So the stories, the episode were the same. They were all taken from Ramayana Mahabharata stories. Sometimes the Badaga, Tenkutittu, they evolved even Saiva stories are, Shiva Purana. From Shiva Purana, they developed some of the prasangas. So, because why I'm giving all these in details, ritualistic traditional theatre, because the Yakshagana, mainly the scholars believe that what we have know the temple art, these are from Buddhist cult. Earlier, the Yaksha words itself, it is appeared in Buddhism, Jainism. The Jains still today, they have a worship of Yaksas. The earlier, in Vedic period, there is no idol worship. When Buddhism emerged. They started worshipping yakshas. All the yakshas, they tend as later on they tried as a Hindu god and goddesses. There's a lot of example we can give in this tradition. The Tulunadu also believes that all these deities came from Buddhism or Jainism. So the many art forms finally they adapted to the latest people demand, and finally when before independence you can see the Bhakti cult till today in modern times. Many theatre experts, the playwrights, and even the modern directors, they can't escape from these traditions, mainly in South India. That's how, through using Kalari and Kathakali moves, Kavalam Panikkar, he popularized Bhasa's plays, Sanskrit plays. Otherwise, we can't revive the Sanskrit theatre in South India. And also, all the 9 plays, it's we got it from the Kerala only. That's why the Kerala and the coastal Karnataka, there is a lot of the give and take cultural exchange is going on from 2 centuries. It means when the Naga cult, even Yaksha cult is there at the time. I'm not going to elaborate here because I should conclude the third part of the popular theatre, what we called why all Indian playwrights, they go back to the grassroots level identification of their cultural roots, the lot of folk theatre, the folk idioms have developed in the modern theatre also, Indian theatre, especially Karnataka. The many major playwrights, they taken their script source from the ritual or devotional theatre or traditional theatre. In Karnataka, there were many yakshaganas. Out of coastal region, we have a Dodata. The Dodata later on is started social plays called Sannata, Dasarata. These are all the devotional theatre. Finally, in the modern times, the modern concept of the folk theatre, many playwrights, they started taking elements from the folk theatre. I will read out some passages for what I understood the contemporary Indian theatre as well as the South Indian folk theatre. The Indian folk theatre is consistently rejecting the hegemony of the time and linear history. The main effort is to rejecting the hegemony. Just as it has rejected the authority of the written text, the folk performance never have. Like one more example I forgot to give, that Terukuttu. It's evolved in Tamil Nadu, but it's known as a ancient street theatre. If you go the Buddhist era, they say that it's a 2 BC. Because the Teru, the meaning of the Terukutu, Teru is an open, the Kutu is the play. It's an open air musical drama. There also, there is a cult that they mainly, after Mahabharata, they worship Draupadi Amman. Draupadi is the lead role, and after 8 days, they do Draupadi Ammanatam. It's a festive. The Terukuttu performs because the mainly performers, they were not the elite class. They were all the illiterate class, basically. They have their own, even they never have a written text like folk theatre. They memorize the lines like in like a Vedic rituals, the mantra, the chanting like that. The generation to generation, this Terukuttu or Dodata Sannata, it's transformed to the youngsters. It's given by the ancestors. That's why, just as it is, rejected the authority of the written text. In it, the relationship between the text and the performance and the interpretation are always arbitrary. There is no final or authoritative interpretation which can be existed by the strong accessories. In this first place, meanings themselves are incorrigibly plural. It means folk theatre always plural. No one dramatist, actor, or audience has exclusive proprietary rights over the meaning, meaning of the play. Instead, there is a lived experience which emerges a new every performance. In the folk traditions, the meaning of the play also plural because the playwright forgoes the privileges of the authorship, the copyright, as well as his claim to the an all powerful authorial meanings. He becomes only a participant in the creation of meaning through the performance of the play. The plays in this tradition is always a contemporary scenes. The interpretative performance is always at the present, open to its context and present history. This also helps the community to circulate its text from generation to generation without fear they ever losing their contemporary and significance. The word we can say in folk theatre, it is Sutradhara. And the clown enjoy the additional privilege of explicitity, defining the frame of the time and also space. Is the link character. The Sutradhara always playing 3-4 roles. Is known as a clone also. He connect the people sometimes. They can address the audience directly, speaking in a familiar register, often sprinkling with the English word also in common use. The Sutradhara can also freely orchestrate various models of the performance, prose, verse, invocation, commentary, description, narration, and dialogic intervention. This is also characteristic of a tradition which does not endorse generical distractions. The play is a plurality. Song, dance, dialogue, etc. are not so many forms of this kind of we can see in the Elizabethan is a embellishment of the play. There are the play. That is why the introduction of the Brechtian model of total theatre was not an intervention of the many South Indian playwrights. The innovation, many people we see that the folk theatre, the alienation theory, it came from West to the Brecht. But the South Indian, many playwrights, they believe that that kind of alienation, the Puroranga, what Brecht's prelude, we have in our folk theatre style. That was their form believeness. For the many South Indian playwrights, the folk theatre which they had inherited had always been total. The South Indian theatre, the folk theatre is called as a total theatre. Unlike the elite urban amateur theatre, disrupted the tradition of both folk theatre as well as the professional theatre. In Karnataka, in South India, we call professional theatre as a company theatre, whereas in North India, it's called as a Parsi theatre. Because with the colonial rules we developed, many the before independence, the first colonial era, this kind of theatre is emerged with the learning English and the British rule. But the tradition for the folk theatre as well as the professional theatre only to hoist on the stage on an academic versions of the realistic social drama of the West. Our folk drama never imitate the West. The folk theatre experts believe that more dangerously it is translated theatre from its truly social public side of the ritual into the confinement of an aesthetic performance. At the present time, the power system and also the organized religion as a real presence and as a site of conflict and confrontation, unchanging feudal world in which the village headman, it means the Desai, Loda, or the feudal lords are timeless figures of the absolute power. The India not yet overcome to the feudal system till today. If you go rural areas, all the folk theatre have this kind of characters. These figures of feudal power, as in making the anti-feudal struggles merely contest of superior male variety as in South Indian folk plays. Later on, it's shifted to commercial film culture. The story, always in folk theatre, the conflict between rich and poor, the feudal and slavery, and the land distributions, and the women as a tool of the property. That's what we can see the many modern playwrights, including many Kannada folk theatres, they have this contest, contest most popularly. And in film also, there is the same thing is happening. And the hero, the villain is going to be feudalistic. If you take any love story or any dispute of the land, the modern traditional playwrights keeps us in these minds Deshaprajna, but they have a Deshaprajna. It means literally awareness of space, but could not mean awareness of the one's community or tradition. Kala Prajna. It means time and space we talk about. Deshaprajna is the space, that Kala Prajna is awareness of time, contemporary consciousness. That's why the many South Indian playwrights keep in mind these two elements, Desha Prajna and Kala Prajna. It is not there. It's going to be once again look like a ritualistic or repetitive traditional forms. That's what the separation we can see the Indian the folk. In 60s, Kannada theatre mixing exploring realism, which was not the dominating mode of the theatrical representation of available at the time. Amateur theatre groups animated itself and starts productions, smaller plays in college courtyards. All the modern amateur groups emerged with the Western culture, influence of the Western culture, the realistic theatre, Ibsen or Bernard Shaw. But whereas Shakespeare, we can't make it him as a realistic one. So that is the thing. All the folk forms we traced out to Shakespeare in the ritualistic or traditional classical theatre. But there will be folk elements in certain places, but it can't be realistic. That is the main intention in the South Indian folk dramatists as well as the many modern theatre productions. The many modern theatre productions invariably used the basic elements of folk music and musicians, and for the dialogue employed village dialects. So it means the language is no manner. Some characters they use the urban and also the dialects. That's what we can see. Often on slide, standard urban languages. In this kind of productions, this is another inner current that runs through all works, the current of the robustly democratic and contemporary consciousness. The folk theatre also prompted them to use their art to intervene in a given social or political situation. They combined an interview them into the style of theatre, which was unique in the sense of that it is neither follow the European model nor blindly copied any folk forms. That is why they folk will not be a correct. They did not romanticize folk culture. Romanticize folk culture. Many modern playwrights they they follow these lines. We also aware the severe ideology limitations of underlining the simple approach of the to the issues and problems that we once found in the folk forms. Still, we recognizing that there were the skill and energies that exist in our own folk traditions and could be harnessed to forego the new, truly indigenous performance in order to fashion an aesthetically existing and consecutively enriching kind of theatre which was especially contemporary or non-traditional in both its outlook and its form. The modern theatre dictates not only look and its form. The modern theatre dictates not only evolving a new style and idiom for the world, in some ways rebringing the very concept of modernity, particularly in the relations to the South Indian theatre. Some of them they were against the post-colonial project of modernity, which tended to exclude from the focus of its attention large areas and large sections of ordinary people who lived outside metropolitan cities. This modernity they seems to have recognized was followed, it failed to understand consideration are important regional languages, culture, forms, tradition, and lifestyles. They understood the intention that the name of the national and nationality, regional differences were often swept under the carpet and even sought to be bulldozed into one hegemonious phenomenon. By establishing large monolithic centralized policies and national institutions for implementation of those policies. Major theatre personals, revival folk performances, traditions had made it into a significant and influential category in regard to the contemporary theatre practice in India as well as in South India. So, so I think uh, we can have, I broadly pointed out some of the main theatre source, what is available in South India. Okay, now I think the questioning answer. Some of the questions I can. Hello. There is a question, I saw the one question. Sir, how do you plan to keep the rich literature of Karnataka alive and keep going? When, in fact, you yourself many times said that theatre is a storage of Kannada playwrights and readers nowadays. No, no, that's why my explanation always, I'm not only confined to the written text. I will take even non-theatrical text also, like folk tales, the modern stories, as well as the novels sometimes. That's what the theater it means. I believe theater and playwriting, that play is a shastra, but theater is not a shastra. There is no codified rules for the experimentation. So that's why I'm not confined myself to the written text sometimes. Many of my experimentation in Kannada theater, they were all non-written text, stories like that. Actually, the second question I'm seeing is Telugu theater. I used to talk about Bama Kalapam and also the mainly related to the traditional theater. How Chinda Bhagavata is emerged in Andhra Pradesh. The main interesting things in theater, because I earlier told that two epics mainly influenced the South Indian theater traditions, whether it may be ritualistic or a devotional or folk, the Ramayana Mahabharata episodes. But whereas in Chindu Bhagavata, there is a special community called the Madhite section. It's called Madhika community. They narrate Adi Jambua Purana. That is the interesting thing. That is not Bhagavata Purana. There, the Krishna fall in love with a tribal girl. It's a Madhite class tribal girl. Finally, the conflicts happen to the Lakshmi. Then finally, Krishna convinces her. That is the Chindu Bhagavata. Why I'm telling? Because last 5 years in southern states, we are introducing for the youngsters, the based on all these, the acting skill. Basically, we always talk about West, lot about West acting methodologies. We never go back to our grassroots tradition like Kathakali or Kuriatam, Yakshagana or Dodata, Bailata. There will be we can see the literary people were also there, elite as well as the illiterate. The Chindu Bhagavata, mainly the illiterate people, it is a nomadic community. Still today, they were alive, they do the Chindu Bhagavata Purana. The Bhamagada Kalapa, later on, like Ramanata, Krishnanata, the Kuchipudi, the dance drama. Earlier it is a drama, now it's called a classical dance. That's also called Krishnatam. So we can see in the Telugu culture, NTR himself is a Krishnudu, is a Ramudu, is the idol character for the portrayal, popularize these two great epics. Could you please highlight the present scenario of Tulu Rangabhumi? So Tulu Rangabhumi earlier, mainly the upper caste people dominated in the Yakshagana forms, because the Tulunadu now they started highlighting their cultural heroes, their cult, because the Tulu is the only language is never influenced with any other. It's the purest Dravidian language. The scholars still today they appreciate that. It is no influence of Sanskrit, even some extent Kannada. But now the Karnataka government they started the Tulu Academy separately. They have the laws, performance text also, as well as the novel stories. That's why earlier they started with Tulu. Later it became a commercial. Once again, they've forgotten the Yakshagana tradition. Finally, once again, they go back to the Yakshagana, the roots. That's why in between it's deviated from the main core of the culture. Is there any tradition of Hindi drama developed in South? No, that's what we call modern theatre. But yeah, we have in modernity what we say 70s, the many drama schools. In Karnataka at present, we have many drama schools. Ninasam is there, Rangayana is there, the National School of Drama. Apart from Delhi, it's extended. Earlier, it started in 1994 as an extension program as RRC, Regional Resource Center, to emphasize the regional theatre. But we won't believe Tamil, Telugu, or Kannada theatre is also a national theatre. Because in the language, we can't separate theatre as a regional or national like that. So majority of the state people they speak Hindi, but the Natanka is the same genre, it's divided from Bhakti cult. Like that, what happened in Ramanata Krishnanatam, and in Gujarat, Bhava is there such a way. So like that, the Jatra, like that, these are all the regional theatre, we say that, they were all the traditional theatre. But the Hindi influence is there because it's realistic. The Mohan Rakesh is place for, well, often they play many amateurs group as well as the theatre companies also, repertory companies. Questions, the fifth questions. How is the use of time and space, 2D, 3D in the theatre of Southern Indian, different from a lot of Northern India? Please elaborate these examples. No, actually in Kerala, many youngsters, but I mean, the 2D, 3D is a technical word. The space, actually, in the Sanskrit theatre, always there will be the design, it's happened in the courtyard only, the king's court. Whereas the traditional theatre is happened in temple only. The Kuriyatam, first time it came out from the temple. The folk theatre, it's emerged within the people. That's why earlier he said that name. The many traditional forum later on it became a secular. It's not the defined space like sacred place. Now the modern Indian theatre it can happen anywhere, not only inside the temple, because still today many temples they never allow common people. Even for the Bhojanam also they said that there is a category because India divided in a set of caste system as well as the culture. So that's why I won't see this kind of 2D, 3D, the example I can give that. Our theatre performance is different from the performance of other performing art in South India. No, actually, the modern theatre, what we see, the South Indian theatre, it's never practiced realism like West. So, because we believe that the actor should be have a parakaya pravesha. It means he is not representing himself. He is a different. That's what all the forms, South Indian theatre forms have a stylization. Yeah, in realistic manner we can't sing. Even Indian film, it's a realistic, but it has a folk theatre influence. All the heroine, they sing, dance, but there may be the love happens in India, but the songs go on in Italy or America, like that. So the time and space, the technically we extended, but the text, the theme, it's not changed. That's why it may relate to the magical realism also. The many the theories what we got from West. So that's why South Indian theatre, basic theatre, it is not realistic. I can give example. I can't say Kavalam Narayan Panikar Experiment is a realistic theatre. Or Girish Karnad or Kambal, Suprakash, or many youngsters, many playwrights emerging in Karnataka, Nayan Swami or Dalwai or Pushpa, they were not writing realistic plays. They going back to the mythologies, even Puranas to some extent, the folk tale, the fairy tale, they need a source to write. So that's why they're going back to the literary words. That's my thing. Please discuss the performance aspects of Ramalila performance. Does it always borrow from textual oral occasion? Yeah, I have seen Ramalila of Ramnagara. There is no space to talk about Ramalila because it also comes under the traditional theatre. What I called Ramanatam, Krishnanatam, Yakshagana, Kathakali, this kind of. But it's Ramalila, it is also a ritualistic theatre. But in Kashi Ramanagara, whereas Varanasi, they have 1 month ritualistic. That was from watching that performance. The American theoretician Richard Sechner evolved his performance theory, environmental theatre. It means the theory emerged with our tradition only. He witnessed the Avanti Great Theatre in Ramnagara. I also am studying in Rama School, Delhi. I witnessed 1 month. That's interesting. That's what the people like, They don't want to sit in a space in the closed auditorium. So the temple or theatre, that's what they're moving. They believe that. It means there is a differentiation with actor and spectator. In ritualistic theatre, there is no difference. They have a trance. Even the actor also get trance, the audience also have a trance. There is the total involvement. And because it's leads to the faith. If you were categorize theatre of Southern India into the broader categories of theatre, then what would be the name of that? No, I'm not categorizing. They're distorting what the experts for the study purpose, they make it different groups. So, without ritual, without tradition, the classical theatre never emerged. The before Bharatmuni, there is a theatre. That's what in Natsastra also we can see. There is the common people, what they were doing. Everybody they can't do in the court act, in King's Court. So that's why all the dance forms, even theatre forms, evolved with the temple, with the Devadasi cult we can see. In southern India, that's what I told in Kuriatam, the Nangiya, the female actors. In Karnataka also, many traditional theatre people, especially the ritualistic theatre, they were all Devadasis. That is, the performance is another kind of worship. Now, the one more question said, does a traditional Ramalila performance qualify as a theatrical activity? Why not? Definitely. It is a people's theatre, we can see that. There is no codified rules for that. It's a celebration. That's why all the ritualistic traditional theatre called it a celebration. That's what I defined the Leela and Ata. The people believe that, but many people say that the Indian, mainly they believe that we more talk about after death, the moksha, the salvation. We all our plays, they predict, they solve the problem of the day-to-day life. That's why in Yakshagana, the performance took place, it's called as Arake Ata. It's the tasking like that. They have a ritual. That's why the many groups, they were busy doing in, not in the rainy season, in the summer, every temple, they sponsored the theatre like that. But Ramleela also, Ramgarh Ramleela, it's sponsored by king, He's himself a participant in that. He's a character. He represents as a Rama there. That is the belief. The people, thousands, 10,000 like people, they know the story of the Ramaleela. But the participating itself in the play, that is the ritual. That's why Ramaleela, I can say it's a folk theatre, broad folk theatre. We can define in the traditional ritualistic form. In the Telugu theatre, actually, modernity, there is the text. Many people, they believe that modernity, after independence only, we got the written text. That's what in 70s, we always say 5, 6 people from every region. From northern India, the only Star World playwright is Mohan Rakesh, Dharmavir Bharati. In Dharmavir Bharati Handayuga, the text is once again the Mahabharata. The way he conceived the text and reinterpreted for the contemporary world. That's what I gone through with what our playwrights, the modern theatre people defining the folk theatre. The folk means also it's a contemporary for us. But we can't make realistic. That's why our Indian film, they always stylized, without dance, without song. But it is in real life, we won't dance, no? In the family, we have the Western mode of theatre. The Bernard Shaw is a verbal play, we say that. In our theatre, that is not, we are just not using the dialogue. We believe dialogue is a poetry. We are enacting the poetry. For the enactment, that is the Angika Abhinaya, we will dance through the gestures. That's what the Kuriyatam and the Kathakali, Yakshagana, is acting with the fingers, hands, and also the facial expressions, exploring all the rasas. In Telugu, there were a lot of books here. Definitely, I will if you contact me later on, I will temple management South India with the mean of taking. Sir, with the government-led institution of temples management in South India and with the demand of taking classical dance away from the root Hindu traditional rituals, will the art survive in the future? You see, the in modern theatre also, without the support of governance, without the support of the public, the theatre or any kind of theatre, we won't survive. That's why the Indian government started the Ministry of Culture. There is a lot of academies. So it means we are not begging with the sponsorship. That is our right, birthright. The civilized society to support the art and culture. I don't know whether it is the state government budget, whether it is the central government. What's the budget of the culture? The less. What about the military? Even the education, we cut down the budget. So that's what the people think that. That's why the Yakshagana, with the faithfulness of the people, the sponsorship of the people, it survived. In many temples, why the temples keep theatre to propagate their faith, their garden goddesses, and also there will be a preaching. They have a discourse on the culture, and as well as the philosophy. That is the idea. All the Indian theatre, the propagating the what we call the Niti Sastra, the philosophy behind it. That's why we are the two epics, the characters. That's why we identify with our characters with the Rama, Krishna, Draupadi, Rukmani, like that. We need a poetic distance. That's why many Indian playwrights, they going back to the traditions. That's why they take from, for example, in Karnataka, Girish Karnad, all his plays, he may take any historical plays. Do you think the Toghalak and Dreams of Truth is a realistic one? It may be a subject taken from history. Is Nagamandala Aivadana and latest his play Agni Barka. One simple sloka, he developed the play, but he written in it's a ritualistic way. It means it is a Puranic natak, you say that. But when I direct that Agnibat Barka, no, it is a my time play. It's also realistic. If you change the costume, if you made it, the characters speak the contemporary word. That's the thing. No, that's why we can't, the society is not always stagnant. It should change, like a river, like a wind. The art also changes. That will come. That's what keeping the rituals. If everything you're going to adapt to the modernity, maybe we're going to lose the originality of the art form. That's why the government or the temples or the institution, they have to keep as a tradition. That's what in Asian theater, the kabuki, the survive, the Chinese opera, because that is the tradition. If somebody goes to the Japan, what they see, without seeing the kabuki, they won't come. In modern times, so if you go England without watching Shakespearean play, the Globe Theatre, there is no Globe Theatre. If we are doing modernity, but the form itself, it contains the method of acting. We always going back to the cultural roots, our identity. That's what all Indian urban theatre, it's depicting the forgotten their memories, whether it is a literature, or the play, or the theatre performances. Yeah, for the Tulu plays, I can see the Chauta, D.K. Chauta is a modern playwright. We say that he's a very popular. He written novels as is one of the. He written both Kannada and Tulu, but I've seen his plays also, and also D.K. Chauta is one of the name for Tulu modern thought. Is the best example. Vivek Rai is there. Many stalwarts there from the Tulu culture. Purushottam Bilimele also he worked on that. He writes about the Bhutaradhane, even the Yakshagana of Karavali, the Tulu language. Please recommend some important critics of state of South India. No, I won't think there is no criticism in that. In South India, earlier, there is a space in the newspaper. Every Sunday, you can have a performance reviews. But now the papers also written, printing media also is stopped to review the performance. But there will be a small literary magazines only they write. But there will be a literary critics we can have in South India. In Karnataka, there were many critics. But for the performance, I have not seen. They just elaborate the performance, that's all. But for the criticism also, it's very difficult. I can't generalize this. To criticize, to see the things, they need a evidence, the text. The written text is there, they can have a literary criticism. But whereas the performance every day is a new performance. That's what the new performance. That's what the folk theatre, that the evening, it will begin, it will die. The next day, there will be a new production. Like the Yakshagana, even modern theatre also, the repertory companies, if they put the shows, there's that day of performance only. But if you do the 100 shows, we can't give the criticism on the 100 shows. That is the problem with the performance space. That's what we can't even expect. 1 or 2 shows. For example, last 5-6 years, I did 100 plays of 9 hours play of Malagalali Madhumagalu. I have a reviews in paper reviews. As a serious criticism, I didn't get. There will be a lot of appreciation from the audience, but there is no documentation like that. That's why we can't expect, because all the 100 shows, the actors will change. The space have been changed. It has to be redesigned, even the set as well as the actors. So that's why in classical forms, we can't. If you take Kathakali, the makeup never changes. The hands abhinaya, what we call is gestural angik abhinaya, it's never changed. But the influence of modernity, sometimes even they want to use the film songs, they out of the root of the tradition. That's what I mean. See that. Kindly say of some name of the policy. Don't use the festival as a disillusionment of. No, I won't see like that. The 14th question. The National School of Drama, last 20 years organizing Barangam. Do you think it's a waste of time and money? So we can connect the entire globe as well as the whole India. So I can see many Southern Indian play there only. I can't go Kerala or Sora or Andhra Pradesh to watch the play. So in the drama schools, we can bring out. When I'm in the drama school, I never before saw the chow dance. The mask dance is a energy and expression without even have the facial expression. With the mask, they give that magical expression. No, that's why the theatre festivals always the more appreciation we'll get, and also the support, the energy we'll get. But I don't think that is the responsibility of the civilized society as well as the institutions to bring out the old and new, to look after the on one dais. It's very helpful to understand ourselves, what we are there, where we are going, whether we are deviated from the main culture or we are exploring the new kind of theatre. There is a festival going to help. Can you draw the parallels of southern forms theatre arts with other arts in the world? Definitely. If you take Kathakali, if you go to Singapore, there will be a Ramanattam once again. Our Ramayana have been performed. There, the relationship is different. If you know Brahma, that in Buddhist era, they taken to the Ramayana. We only confined to that. There were several Ramayana in India. According to our A.K. Ramanujam, he collected 350 Ramayanas. written texts. The non-written texts were many, even like Mahabharata also. For Rangayana Repertory Company in Mysore, once I directed a play for 500 kids in Chinramela, but Janapada Mahabharata. In that, I bring out all the 100 Kauravas. They have to say their names. In many Mahabharata episodes, we never know, only know the Kauravas, Duryodhana or Dusyasana. Rest, we never see the characters. But in Kaurava family, there will be another female character, Dusyale. No, the contemporary words, they were unaware about this. Not just more than Indian oriented. No, Natya Shastra is not only, we can't divide North and South. That's what I said, that the classical theatre, it's experimentally, we can find out in Kerala, Kutambala, where Kutambala, that's what the theatre experts relate to what in the Natya Shastra prescribed space for the performing space, the Chatursa, the rectangular form, Ayata form, but Kutumbalam is present. And also the Kudiyatam is based on Natya Shastra, all Abhinaya formulas. That is a mime, is a no dialogue, like dance, our classical dance, like that only. So that's why I won't agree with this. Natya Shastra more South Indian oriented or North Indian. The question is not correct. It is a universal text. It can be but even for the Greek theatre, many people say that our Sanskrit theatre is the resource. We never attempt to write tragedies, but because Sanskrit theatre never believes tragedies, it's a innovative, the comedies, tragic comedies with that. We want Indian faith never believes the tragedies. We want, Bharatamuni rightly says that, we won't show the death on stage. That is the thing. That is because the people who are watching, how Natya Shastra, why Natya is emerged. That's what in Natya Shastra, in preface, they read, from 4 Vedas, apart from that, they created Panchama Veda. That is Natya Shastra. It is like any poetics like that, what we call Aristotle theory for the West, for Indian theatre as well as the globe. We can follow. If somebody want to understand the Kathakali, Yakshagana or Kuriyatam, it is a reference text we can use as a poetic text. It is a reference text we can use as a poetic text. Thank you very much. We're all came with me with long 1.5 hours. Why I chosen this? I go to the modern theatre also. It's all elaborated and long. I have to name the playwrights, the director, and the groups. It's several thousands groups were there. There were many youngsters. They were practicing theatre in southern India. Most prominent directors emerged, playwrights emerged. That's why it's webinar. It's to reach out in the time of COVID-19. The many people they're asking the media people how the theatre going to be in that's what we have a communication skills because we are intellect. We can think. The machine can't think. We can use the machine as a tool, the mode of communication. That's what the webinar, this group, the NST series. I'm very thankful. If you have any given wrong information, please forgive me. Thank you, everybody. We're all asking questions as well as we're all participating with me. Thank you. Thank you very much. Namaskaram.